Well, I figured it was time to revisit the most successful Battlefield game technically ever, but specifically from this decade. And by successful, I do just mean commercially successful, not in terms of what was achieved in the actual game itself. And that undoubtedly is Battlefield 1, the largest ever selling Battlefield title, the #1 video game trailer on YouTube, and honestly at the time, basically a world phenomenon. It really took the world by storm. Everybody was playing it, everybody was interested in it, everybody wanted to see what the game would all be about. And I'll be honest with you, I never really liked Battlefield 1. Battlefield 1 for me was kind of like the cousin to Battlefield 4, but like not in a good way. It was trying something new in a different setting, but it didn't quite work. And I think that was more down to just me being personally quite attached to modern shooters, but also I just don't really enjoy the World War I setting for the most part. I find that sometimes the balancing of it, I find the fact that Battlefield 1 was basically explosions and environmental fire and environmental gas and all of these things that basically just killed you without real FPS gameplay, was something that I found personally off-putting. But, with that all said, the reason I wanted to revisit Battlefield 1 today was because of that commercial success. Why did this game do so well? And I think the simple answer to it is something that is going to influence the next title really well. It's going to be something that's going to be huge for the next title, and it's added time. I really do believe that the reason Battlefield 5 was given an extended life cycle, and the reason the next game is coming out in 2021, which means that 2020 moves us a year closer to the next Battlefield game, is that they just wanted to give the game more time. If you look at the simple outcomes of what happened, Battlefield 1 had a long development cycle. It was given a lot of time. They didn't have anything to do because Hardline was being picked up by a different studio, and DICE had less on their hands. Now, admittedly, DICE still is a huge studio. They are going to be juggling all sorts of stuff over the coming years, be it Star Wars, be it Battlefield, whatever they happen to be working on. And bearing in mind, because DICE also has created the Frostbite engine, I'm sure there are going to be people within that department working on the Frostbite engine across the industry. But for the most part, it means that the next Battlefield title is going to receive a longer development cycle, or at least a much more healthier development cycle where more can be accomplished in a window of time. And I think the fruit of the labour shows in Battlefield 1. You know, we had one of the world's best video game trailers revealed. We had a game that truly understood how to build a hype campaign around a release, and more importantly, we had a game that was fun. Undoubtedly, I didn't enjoy Battlefield 1 in the long run, but I'll tell you what, the initial couple of months, at least for me, were a good time, and I still got a good couple hundred hours out of the game, even if I didn't agree with some of the design choices, but that's just me, you know. I'm fully aware that I live in a bubble where Battlefield 1 wasn't an enjoyable game, whereas a lot of people did, and hundreds and thousands of people really enjoyed Battlefield 1. It's very clear if you're an investor or somebody who works at EA that Battlefield 1 is the gold standard. Whether or not they actually know much about the internals of the game itself and how it played, ultimately they'll understand that Battlefield 1 did well because it was a polished and finished game on release, and more importantly, it had great media and marketing campaigns around it. And the reason I think this is so important is because think of a game like Battlefield 4 or think of a game like Battlefield 3 in a modern setting. And because Battlefield is now a much more worldwide renowned brand because of Battlefield 1, take the kind of shock and awe of a Battlefield 1 trailer and what the game looks like and throw it into a modern setting. And I think that's truly going to be something that will blow away people who are looking to play the game. And the reason I say this is because I feel as though there's still a huge gap in the modern shooter market, the Battlefield gap I'd call it. And the reason I say this is because every single new modern shooter that comes out, be it a Battle Royale or a game like Escape from Tarkov or a game that's maybe less hardcore or a game that's more hardcore, World War III, Modern Warfare, there always feels as though there's something missing. And I truly feel as though that's the dynamic that Battlefield offers. It's this incredible action dynamic, but in a slightly larger setting. It's a skill-based thing. You know, in Modern Warfare, as much as I wanted to enjoy the game in the long term, effectively it does just become sweaty things. You know, it's people using shotguns, it's people using riot shields, it's people finding ways to use claymores in scumbag ways. And the game kind of deteriorates in quality because that's just how Modern Warfare and Call of Duty is played. Whereas Battlefield has always been a little bit different. It's always been about who can nail their shots. It's always been about who can push an objective, who can do this, who can do that, and who can do it well. And I think that's what made Battlefield 3 and 4 so attractive to people, was there was just this endless cycle loop of great, fulfilling gameplay, and 101 different things could happen in a single game. Now, because Battlefield 1 did so well at really creating a solid fan base for Battlefield, really bringing it to a much wider market, I truly feel as though the next modern iteration of Battlefield, which is what most people want to see now, due to the fact that we've had World War I and World War II back to back, is going to be mind-blowing. And I really do feel as though the keys to success to the future of Battlefield live inside Battlefield 1. Whether or not you agree with how the game plays, whether or not you agree with its weapon mechanics, which I certainly didn't, or how it just functioned. You know, for me, as much as I did go back to this game, and I did enjoy playing it, I still have fundamental issues with the game. For example, explosive spam. For example, behemoths. For example, environmental damage. For example, just the sheer lack of balancing and random bullet deviation and all of these random spread elements that made it almost impossible to understand why your gun wasn't shooting at the thing you were pointing at. Ultimately, from a design standpoint, I feel as though Battlefield 1 was one of the worst in the franchise. But in terms of the fact that it was given a healthy development cycle, it was given a really good marketing campaign, it attracted loads of people because it understood what people were looking for. It was a trailer and a marketing campaign and a game that truly understood the hole in the industry that was missing and went for it. Nobody had a historical shooter at the time that was any good, and people were looking forward to it. Call of Duty had just announced another modern futuristic shooter with running up walls and jetpacks and all the nonsense that people were getting tired with, and Battlefield just showed up and went, you know what, we can do better. And I think that's the real key to Battlefield. I feel as though as a franchise, it can take anything that any other modern shooter does and do it better. It can do graphics better, it can do weapon customization better, it can do vehicles better, it can do all of these things that anybody else really can do, but just crank it to 11 or 12, and that's always what's made the franchise special. Whether or not you hated or agreed with Levolution in Battlefield 4, that was a turning point because the industry all looked at Battlefield and went, holy crap, how did they do that in a video game? You know, even though Battlefield 4 was broken and a mess and a number of things, the simple fact of the matter is Battlefield found a way to crank it to 11. And they did the same with Battlefield 1, and I truly hope that we can see the success in Battlefield 1 and crank it to 11 again in future titles. And I truly feel as though that's what's going to define the next generation. 2021 is going to be a huge year for Battlefield because, I'll be honest with you, I say this a lot, and I did say this about the World War II Battlefield in 5. It's a make or break year for Battlefield. I think people have been upset. I think people haven't enjoyed 5. I think people had their gripes with Battlefield 1. As much as it was a commercial success, I think it certainly alienated a good number of the original community that existed there. Albeit small and pretty, you know, not the largest community in the world, there was a number of people who played Battlefield 4 that just kind of called it a day there. Not to mention Battlefield Hardline as well. There's been so many twists and turns in the franchise that have returned to something truly modern and something that perhaps will attract all kinds of audiences, from the people who played Battlefield 1 to the people who played Battlefield 2 back in the day. You know, I really feel as though there's a huge opportunity for Battlefield to achieve something like that with the level and kind of talent that we expect from a Battlefield game, because I always feel as though everybody expects Battlefield to just do everything better, and I think they're certainly capable of doing that. But anywho folks, this is my video for Battlefield 1. I'm revisiting the most successful Battlefield game of the decade, or ever even, revisiting the most successful Battlefield game ever. And I'm hopeful for 2021. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Did you enjoy Battlefield 1, and are you looking forward to a modern iteration of the title in the future? As always folks, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon in another video.